right now. So, I mean, how much trouble can we get in by starting it early?
Well, if you say 5:58 on the record, we can get into a lot of trouble. If you say 6 o'clock on the record, nobody will know the difference.
All right, we are calling this meeting to order. It is January 25th, Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and we're going to start off with citizen concerns. Hearing none, is there any disapproval of prior month's minutes?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay,
And I have no objections.
so those are approved. Item number 3, taser purchase for police division. And Chief, just before you start, with what we've been hearing going on in this country regarding, I'll call them attacks on our police officers, you know, it just drives home the importance of the significance of what you and your department does. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah, I echo that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. So actually, I'm going to have about 6 pieces of legislation before you tonight. So the first one is to purchase some new tasers. Taser is basically the sole game in the market out there for conducted electrical weapons. We've used the Taser P26 for several years now, since 2014. And Taser is getting to near end of life on those. The Taser 7 came out a few years ago. They've been in production for a while, been in use by other agencies. And so I would like to upgrade our agency to the Taser 7s. On the second page there, just for comparison purposes, the top one's the X26P, the bottom one's the Taser 7. You know, one of the reasons I want to go with the Taser 7 is just because it is clearly differentiated from a firearm. The top one looks more like a firearm, the bottom one's bright yellow, but it also has a newer technology with it. It has basically 2 sets of probes in it, so depending on what situation the officer's in. With everything, there's an accountability measure to it. We can download the data on a daily basis with these. Each officer will be assigned an individual taser. That way there's some accountability. They download the data so we know if there's been any discharges or accidental discharges and things like that. With this purchase, the total cost of this purchase, to purchase 43 tasers and everything we would need would be $141,452.75. This was in this year's budget. It's in the 53400 account, which is the police equipment account. And this would actually cover us for 5 years. So that would include warranties on these devices for 5 years, all our training cartridges, duty use cartridges, everything we would need for the next 5 years would be covered under this contract with Taser. So I'm asking that the committee consider this tonight, move it on to the next council meeting, and then also recommend that it be that the 3 reading would be waived and that it be approved as an emergency measure so we can get these ordered. Because like everything else in the country right now, there is a backlog in supply chain issues. So included with this is a summary and then actually a breakdown of what's all included as far as cartridges, the tasers themselves, and then there is Ms. Andretto's review of it and also the proposed resolution for that. So, any of you have any questions on the tasers?
Why would, I know you're not getting that X26P, but why would they even produce one that's not yellow?
That's what we've had. That's what ours actually looks like.
Right now,
they're
not yellow?
They're not yellow.
Oh.
And that's what was purchased at the time. That's what we've had. And but with them coming to an end of life, we want to upgrade.
Absolutely.
They have a pistol grip too.
It is so similar. I mean,
I have a question about the online training. That's probably just computer, just.
Yeah, they do include some training with it. We have several trained instructors in-house, so we do our training in-house, so that's there'll be some update training for them, and we'll all be going through updated training when these new tasers arrive.
many different companies would you have had to pick from?
Taser is the only one.
There is.
There's another company called Phaser, but they make nothing like the Taser 7. They make something similar to what we have now. And them and Taser have been in litigation for a number of years. But basically, Taser is the sole game in the industry.
So we've had these old ones for 8 years
Yeah.
approximately, and so the new warranty is 5 years?
5 years.
And is that pretty standard, or is there?
No, that's pretty standard anymore, is the 5-year warranty on them. So, I mean, we're paying for it up front, but also what's included is everything we're gonna need during that 5 years. So I'm not gonna have to go out and buy cartridges for training or buy cartridges for duty use. When we need them, they send them to us.
And how many lasers do we have currently on?
So right now, we share them. We have 12 right now.
Wow,
And
it's not very many.
Not very many, so they're
Right.
being shared amongst each shift, so they take them. This way, there's one taser to one officer, and then that officer is accountable for that one device then.
That should help with longevity a little bit as well.
Yes, as well. And these, the new ones too, the batteries are rechargeable, so when they do dock them to download the data, they will recharge the battery. And right now, we have to buy batteries at least once a year for them. And batteries are about $85 a piece. So we'll be good for the next 5 years.
Is there an ETA? I know we're going to do an emergency.
Right. Last time I talked, the sales rep was thinking 5 to 6 weeks out, but that was back in December when I talked to her about that.
I have no
Any
problem.
other questions?
No, I don't, I'm not, that's,
Then, who is keeping minutes? Is that 3-0? Yeah, Angela, okay, I didn't know. So used to Mary Jo. All right. Up next.
one down.
So next on the agenda is an agreement with Pro Phoenix. This is one I've come here every year for. Pro Phoenix is our current CAD and records management system provider, and they also have the in-car software that we use. We've used Pro Phoenix for a while. We've been looking at some other options, but we still need to continue with what we have now. So the yearly maintenance with Pro Phoenix for 2022 will be $34,273.28. That money's budgeted in the Comtech services line item of 51814. So nothing is really changing. With the contract, still provide the same level of service. They just did a major upgrade for us, so we're up to date on that, but we do need this to continue getting service from them to maintain our current system.
Any questions?
No.
That would be 3-0, Angela. Thank you.
All right. The next one is an agreement with PNR Communications for a radio maintenance agreement. This is the first time I've had to bring it to a committee meeting because it just went over $25,000 this year. We added a couple radios to the mix and recently did some updates, so and with everything else, costs have gone up. But what this maintenance agreement covers, it covers all of our dispatch consoles. So we have 3 dispatch consoles, main dispatch consoles and dispatch. We have one in our emergency operations center in the basement, and then we house another one out at the fire division, out at the fire headquarters, in case we need to move out there potentially. So it covers all that. It covers all the mobile radios that are in the cars, all the portable radios that the officers carry, and covers all the behind-the-scenes equipment, so all the radio consolettes that are set up in the radio room. So this covers that for a full year. They do all the preventative maintenance on it for us. So that's $25,987.08 for the year, and we have that in the repairs and maintenance fund of 51630 that was budgeted this year's budget.
This is the whole complete, this is the radio system that we approved back in 19, right?
Yes.
And did it have, I think, I'm trying to remember, did they say there was going to be an annual maintenance fee?
Yeah, so
on that?
the radios come with a warranty, but What's not included in that warranty is the preventative maintenance that they do each year on it. So these radios, they can get basically out of tune, and so then they'll start missing radio traffic, or they'll get a busy signal on it because it's not calibrated right. So they do that each year as well. So
So now that we're a couple of years into those systems, are you quite happy with it?
it paid off. Yeah, I'll give you an example. This morning, I was on my way into work, and a pursuit started on 75, and it was the sheriff's office was involved, state patrol was involved, township was involved. We got involved with it, and you could hear everybody talking. You knew exactly what was going on. They had one person bail on the car, and our officers caught them just off of 199 after they ran across 75 in the soccer field. So, but that communication was seamless, so it's paid for itself tenfold.
Excellent.
So I'm just curious, last year, this maintenance fee was about how much, and then,
Last year it was 23,000.
they keep it up a
So
little
it's gone up a
bit.
couple thousand, but like I said, we've added some additional radios in there in the meantime.
Questions?
Good. I'm good with that.
3-0, Angela?
Thank you.
Great. This next one is to purchase 2 unmarked police vehicles. And you're going to hear something similar from the fire chief when he's done, because he's going to purchase 1 vehicle identical to these except in white. So these 2 vehicles will be assigned to the lieutenants. And we're going to use federal shared proceeds money, which is forfeiture money that we got from a case that I had worked on several years ago when I was still a detective. So the cost of the vehicles, total cost is $75,918.70, and that's in the 823 1232 53400 federal shared proceeds equipment account. So these vehicles are going to replace a 2009 Ford Crown Victoria that we're still using, in the 2014 Ford Fusion, which is less than ideal to put any type of police equipment in. So with this additional money, the federal money, we can't use it to supplant our general fund money, so we have to use it for these things. So I felt this was a good use of the money, so we don't have to take the federal general fund down the road, because these vehicles do need to be replaced. We would have these vehicles outfitted with lighting, and that cost is right around $20,000, so it won't need to come before the committee, and that'll also come out of the same fund. We're going to purchase these through Montrose Ford in Akron. They have the current state contract. In the past, we've been able to buy from Ballman Ford out of Oregon, and Ballman's has always, matched the price, but this year they were not responsive to our request. So we're going to go with Montrose Ford. They're very responsive.
That's a good price for 1 vehicle.
Yeah, so the quote there indicates what we're getting with those vehicles. These vehicles are a little bit different than the marked vehicles we have. They're made to look more like a consumer grade vehicle, but they're still built on the same frame as the police model. What is a police model? This will be the same price that fire chief will have here in a little while for his vehicles as well.
He doesn't get it paid for the way you are.
No, he has to use general fund money on his.
He's got to make a big bust to do that.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe you still have a Crown Vic. Is that the last one?
That's the last one.
Okay.
Lieutenant Sergeant drives that. I think he would drive it till it went to the ground if he could, but it's starting to show its age.
Well, it will be available for purchase.
There you
Yes.
go.
It'll come with the auction.
Make it your family car. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you should be aware the engine fell out of it a couple months ago. I'm sorry, the gas tank fell out of it a couple months ago.
So, yeah.
You might not want to bid on it.
It's due, yeah.
So-
How many miles are on that? I'm just curious.
It's a little over 53,000.
It's only 53,000.
Those are hard.
Must be hard miles.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it was hard.
So with this one too, I'd ask that this one, the 3-week readings be waived, and that it goes into emergency. We run into a couple issues as far as when Ford has their cutoff date on building the vehicles, and we're also minimum 12 weeks out. It could be, up to 7-8 months with the way the supply chain is right now.
Better get that gas tank fixed.
Yes,
Any questions?
No,
I'm good.
So can you expand on the forfeiture fund, just,
So there was, with certain cases, you know, if the proceeds are used, you know, as part of that criminal enterprise, those funds can be forfeited. This particular case was a case that was started by the Ohio Investigative Unit, and then the U.S. Secret Service got involved with it because of how big it was. It was actually a guy out of Toledo and 4 other people, one of those people living here in Perrysburg, who were creating fake IDs that were so good that they would pass TSA standards. And so and what the guy was doing is he was doing it online, and he was basically wasn't taking cash, it was Bitcoin. It was you know, cryptocurrency that he was taking for it. And so when they seized all his cryptocurrency, it was several years ago, they seized it, and then COVID hit, and the price of Bitcoin skyrocketed. So what was originally going to be about a $37,000, you know, forfeiture to us turned into about $370,000 forfeiture. So with that federal, there's certain things we can use it for, there's certain things we can't use it for, but law enforcement equipment is one of them. So that was the case that kind of gave us, you know, this bit of money.
thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
And we cannot use it for anything that was already in the budget, which is why you're going to see the next piece of legislation.
Okay.
So that would be 3-0, Angela. Okay.
And then I want to just, I forgot, I did omit on the Pro Phoenix agreement. That one, the only thing I'm asking on that one is that we waive the 3 readings, but we can wait the 30 days for it to go into effect, because we'll still be within time frame. But the P&R one, that one, I would ask that that one be done as an emergency as well, just so we can get it, we can stay under contract with them, because that one will be coming up prior to the end of the 30 days.
Okay. You guys okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then this next one here is for 4 marked vehicles. So these will be vehicles that will go into our fleet that the patrol officers will be driving. This will be coming out of the general fund account, which is the 53400 out of the general fund. The total cost of these vehicles will be $151,504.56. These vehicles are built just a little bit differently. We have some different options on it. As far as the spotlights in it, there is a plate underneath it to guard it against, so if they're in a high-speed pursuit and they hit a bump, we're not dropping out the whole transmission, different things like that. But these will actually be replacing two vans. We had a 2004 Ford van that was repurposed to the Department of Public Service recently for them to use, and then we had another one that was transferred to the municipal court so they could continue to use it for transport. So the 2 vans were really not doing us any good as far as everyday use. And then we'll be replacing a 2014 Chevy Tahoe and a 2015 Chevy Tahoe. These, like the unmarked vehicles, are the hybrid vehicles that we went to about, well, in 2020 when I took over as chief. The hybrid vehicles are working out well, and we're getting about 22 miles a gallon on those vehicles compared to the 12 miles a gallon that we were getting with the Tahoe. So we are saving some gas in the long run with those.
How is the engine responding? Because obviously you can put it under a lot more pressure than your typical.
Right, so far it's responded well. I put mine under a little bit of pressure this morning when the pursuit started because I was close to, and I wanted to get there, and it responded well. Where we're seeing the savings on the engine is when they're idling, because when they're idling, the gas is kicking off, the electric's kicking in, and so what I'm being told by our mechanics is the idle hours where the engine's actually running that really cause more of the wear and tear on the engine than the driving of it. And so we're seeing less idle hours on the gas engine and more on the electric, which has worked out well. So
Which explains the Crown Vic with only 53,000 miles while it's on its last leg. Yeah, a lot of idle hours in it.
Yeah, there are a lot
Your
of
job.
hours. So again, with with this, we would be going through Montrose Ford out of Akron, who has the state contract for these. And that's the first half of that page. There's a second part of this for the upfitting, which will be a second piece of legislation. But for the vehicles, I'd ask that the 3 readings be waived and that be passed as an emergency so we can get those vehicles ordered. Because who knows how long we're going to be waiting for them.
Any questions? That would be 3-0 as well. I do have just a quick question. Just how many total vehicles do we have on the road?
We have 23 total vehicles. So even with these ones that we're getting, these are all replacement vehicles. So we're still going to have 23 total vehicles.
I was just curious with that.
Some are detective vehicles. We have some detective vehicles that are 2009 vehicles that you'll probably see in the next couple of months where we're going to use some more of this forfeiture money to replace some of those. We're waiting for some state contract bid prices to come out first before we do that.
How many Tahoes are left?
After this, it's going to take me 2 more years to get rid of the
Okay.
Tahoes. So we still have a few of those left on the road. And then the second part of this is to outfit those vehicles. Before, when we went through Ballman to get to the vehicles, Ballman was able to work out a deal with P&R and build the price in, so we were just paying Ballman. But since Ballman's not responsive this year, we got a quote from P&R. So the cost to outfit each of those vehicles is $16,437.91 vehicle for a total cost of $65,751.64. And with P&R, they have our contract for all the radio repair and maintenance. P&R also is the only dealer, radio and dealer in the area that also does the in-car camera system that we have, some Motorola system as well. And so they work on all that stuff as well. So it makes sense to have them do the installation of it. Also with P&R, we can get all the equipment through P&R. They install it, they warranty it, so their installs are good for, the actual installation of it is good for a year, but the equipment is all warranted for 5 years. So if we get 4 to 5 years out of these vehicles, then that equipment's covered for that entire time. We have one point of contact to go to, and P&R's been really good to work with. Actually, when we've had issues with something, they'll actually come to our place and we can put it in our Sally Port, and they fix the issue there. So it really has eliminated, any downtime, especially as technical as these vehicles are getting anymore. Again, it's taking them time to get their equipment in, so I'd ask that this be passed as an emergency as well, waive 3 readings, so we can get the equipment ordered and have that ready when the vehicles get here.
That's just for the 4 vehicles. What about the first 2?
The first 2, the cost to do those is about $10,000 per vehicle, so that's under the $25,000. So that would not need to come through the committee and council to get approval on that, since it's under that $25,000 amount. So with that money would come out of that special fund as well, since it's for those vehicles.
Good question.
Yeah, I was just curious why there's difference in the vehicles, that they're only 10,000 to outfit, these are 16?
Right, because the 2 unmarked vehicles, we won't put the full cages, partitions in them. We won't put the exterior light bars on them, and some of that stuff, so that brings the cost down that way.
Okay.
That can get up there cost-wise.
They're still the same color vehicle, though?
Same color vehicle.
Okay. I'm good, Barry.
Okay.
I'm good.
3-0, Angela. Thank you.
That's all I have for you tonight.
It's about time.
Yeah,
You come with your hand out, don't you?
We just like to spend this entire budget in January.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, purchase a vehicle for the fire division.
Good evening, members of council. I humbly come to you to ask to purchase the one vehicle to replace my chief vehicle. Currently, the chief's vehicle is at 60,000 miles, and what we'd like to do is to transfer that over to the line personnel and use it as a utility vehicle. Currently, we have a utility vehicle that is an old 2003 Crown Vic, and that has produced up to 90,000 miles on it, so we've really beat that up pretty good over the years. And the issue with that one is because currently what we do when we respond on certain calls from 39th District is currently staged at fire headquarters, and we use it to respond to 39th District to provide additional staffing support. The problem with that vehicle is it doesn't handle well in snow and ice. So if you're running lights and sirens on an emergency with the slippery roads, it's very, very risky. So my vehicle is currently a four-wheel drive, so that would be more appropriate. We really wouldn't have to change anything on it other than some of the graphics. It takes off the fire chief title on it and also change the number of the vehicle. And the new vehicle would be very similar to the two unmarked vehicles that the chief is asking for. Very similar as far as the lighting, things like that, so not much different at all. So we wouldn't have to add any cost to any kind of markings or anything like that, so I'm okay with it being an unmarked vehicle. We wouldn't have a lot of additional cost that goes with it. The 10,000 sounds about appropriate because the lighting's going to be about the same. The items in the back are going to be a little bit different. We don't need everything that the police vehicles need. We just need a box to be able to pull out so that we can establish command if we do ever approach the scene and I have to take over command. And we also ask that we waive the 3 readings under emergency legislation for the simple fact that we want to order at the same time the police orders theirs. The only thing we're going to change is the color.
And that was in your budget? This
Yes.
was in all?
Yes, I believe we put in for 55,000. That's just for the lighting.
Cover the
We
lighting.
just wanted to make sure we covered it all, yeah.
Did I hear, you? First I thought I heard you say the color would be the same as the unmarked, but you will be.
The style will be the same,
Okay.
being unmarked. It's just that theirs are blue, navy blue, dark blue. Ours are going to be white.
Okay, so yours will be designated, okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure I understood. And I think personally, I think that's important for you,
Yes,
so, for the public and so forth.
right.
Questions?
No, that's,
3-0, Angela? We're in an agreeable mood tonight.
Thank you.
well, you did only ask for one compared to his. And
We don't ask for a fire engine.
yeah,
I thought that might be on the agenda tonight.
that's in the that's,
If I could address that, well, currently what's happening now
Yeah.
with the engine that we had initially on the budget for last year, we decided to wait for the amended budget, portion of the budget, and for the simple fact that as we were trying to replace one engine, years ago we had an engine and a rescue truck, which means that we had a lot of specialty items on that rescue truck. Instead of having 2 trucks, we condensed it down to 1. So we had to be very specific on the compartmentalization of the truck and make sure that we had enough space for all the tools that we needed. So as they were planning on this new vehicle, obviously prices go up, and it just seemed like every time we were having conversations with peers, the price had continually gone up. So we want to show our due diligence and make sure that we not only just go with one manufacturer, which has been very good to us. We've always been utilizing Pierce. It's a very good apparatus. It's one of the top of the line. I'll be honest and say it's the Cadillac of fire trucks. But we're getting up there in price. So I want to make sure I demonstrate due diligence and say, we went to 3 different manufacturers, and this is the best price for our needs, whether it be a Sutphen or a KME or a Pierce. If we come back and say that Pierce is the best price for the best product for the price, then I would come and ask you for that. But we just want to demonstrate a due diligence. That's the reason for the delay.
It is still a part of the amended budget, though.
Absolutely.
It's a placeholder.
Yes.
Thank you.
800.
Okay. All right. Item number 9, how to move forward with the downtown Dora expansion. So Gene, you weren't here last month, but administration came to us with this idea, as well as Chris, who is the spokesman, we'll say for downtown Dora, and asked for a territorial expansion. Maybe most importantly. So I know
Mainly south, right?
it was, from my understanding, the proposal was from Elm to Walnut, which would be just a little widening, as well as the south to Fifth Street. So I know, Chief, you called the superintendent and I did after you did. And then I also spoke to the president of the school board, the new one. So, and Mark, I think you were going
I
to talk to the
spoke to
library.
the library director who's going to run it past their board this month, in this month's meeting.
And I spoke to the owner of,
Bob Bauer.
Oh,
yeah,
Dell?
yeah, and he was all in favor for it. He had no objection
wow.
to the expansion of the door. He felt it would benefit his renters. So,
And I have not heard back from Mr. Hausler. I don't know if you've heard anything back from the school side.
So I spoke to Eric Bennington, who's the new president, last Friday. I'd spoken to Mr. Hostler maybe a week before that. And so they know that the question is on the table. Eric was asking some of the same questions we were asking when it was being introduced downtown, which is who's responsible for various things. So my takeaway was I think there needs to be a more formal presentation made by somebody, because even when, I'll just say, when the library board meets, they're going to have an idea, but now without a lot of specifics.
Right, and I told Janelle, the library, that I would be willing to, speak at the meeting, and I even volunteered you, Chief, to come. I should have probably asked you first, but I said, I'm sure the chief would be willing to come and give his opinion of it as well, because naturally when I first presented to her, she goes, oh, that was just never on the radar to think. But then I kind of explained, it's not people want to come inside with a cup in your library. It's just the grounds right out there, and mostly around Louisiana Avenue. There's no really reason to drift any further east into their property, I would think. And like you said, there has been no problems to speak of. So they weren't against, I got the feel that they're willing to definitely discuss it.
Well, they can ban it from their building. They have.
Oh, that's easily done. I don't know.
they can ban it from their property as well if they want to.
I was.
Enforcement of that might be a little challenging.
I have a question about that. Isn't there some rural regulation or law that does not allow alcohol on school property?
My understanding is that the individual school boards can make that decision.
And I would have to think that this is a school that there's really no are there students at this building?
They do have.
Yes, they do.
practices.
They have testing.
Oh, there's testing.
Yeah,
Use the-
they
use
use,
the gym.
they use the gym and stuff, so yes, there is
And it would
at times.
possibly during those hours.
So those are just the questions that they're going to have,
Yeah.
because I wasn't even certain of what the hours are. I mean, I just don't know them.
They're right now, so
So-
downtown is noon to 10 are the serving hours, and then you have to dispose of the beverage by 11
Mhm.
is what the hours are downtown.
And what is the reason for including the Commodore building in the first place?
Well, not the Commodore building as much as the green
grounds,
space.
even the grounds.
What we found is, to say we didn't have any problems with, I guess wouldn't be completely accurate. We did have a few issues of people taking the door beverages outside the boundaries. And where we found people going, naturally wandering, was to music on the green or the car show, which is on the Commodore grounds. So that's why this was brought up as, topic is, but again, it's going to be up to those, the school board, if they even want it over there.
They were not opposed, the two people I spoke to, but, I think like the CVB covers liability insurance for the music in the park, and then Rick Ruffner covers liability insurance for the car show. And where would that insurance be, because when you invite someone onto your property with
Right.
alcohol, you assume that responsibility. So, and the,
We do not carry additional liability insurance for the Dora.
correct.
The providers of the alcohol are required to do their due diligence in the same way they would if they were serving inside. They cannot overserve, they cannot serve underage. But as far as the property goes at the Commodore, if there are events there that require liability insurance, that's on the event host, so to speak. We don't,
Which the host in that event would be the school, because they're allowing people to come on. So,
Right.
yeah.
so we don't provide any additional liability.
Understood.
For the door.
Right. But I'm going to go back to what I said a little bit ago, which is I think there needs to be, on paper, what it is that we're attempting to do. Because even though our stories are
just
very
talking,
similar,
yeah.
they're not exact. So,
The legislation requires that an application be submitted to the mayor. When we're creating a door, the legislation requires that an application be submitted to the mayor. The mayor submits that to the legislative body, and the legislative body holds a public hearing and then makes a decision about the door. With regards to amending the DORA, I don't believe that we have quite the same number of steps, but I will have to research that a little bit and answer to you. Because if we have to have an application submitted to the mayor, the question becomes who does the application? Because sort of the downtown one was done by sort of a mishmash of interested parties. As you know, Levis Commons may or may not be involved in one in the future, and that's a request that will come from Levis Commons. So I think the first step is who has to submit the application to the mayor for the expansion? I will get you that answer, and if it's us, if we can do it, which I think we can, I think the city council can do it, then the chief and I will sit down and talk about how we want to do the proposal.
and it's not, and I think city council probably has an interest in maybe playing in that role eventually. But I think before that proposal gets made, there has to be an understanding by the participants, what it is that's, I think that's step, in my mind, that's step one. So.
Okay. We will put our heads together next week and put together a draft proposal for all of you.
Can we also look into asking Mayor if we can extend it into Hood Park?
We currently are not allowed to have alcohol in city parks.
There's a lot of pushback from that idea. I will tell you you can't have alcohol unless it's inside a boundary in the park. You can, like, for instance, you could throw a wedding, you can have a tent up, you can serve alcohol in the tent with a permit.
That's what I was getting at. You need a permit for the park,
Right.
the way it reads now.
And I know, Chief, you originally weren't in favor of that. I do know members of the boat club have reached out saying, well, why not us? Because they think that would be an enhancement to the riverfront. And frankly, if we're asking the schools to do it, then maybe the city should do it. I'm just putting that out there. So I know you're shaking your head. I'm not sure.
That's a discussion for all of you to have.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I'm going to enforce whatever the outcome is.
Right.
You know, I'll provide my input, my opinion on it, but at the end of the day, it's your job to legislate, my job to enforce.
So I think that's an important question. Can we or can we not allow alcohol in a
Not
park?
right now. We have to change the Perrysburg codified ordinances that prohibit alcohol in the park.
I wonder if we could specify one park.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
there are many ways.
Yeah.
But
And not
you
just
can't
alcohol, but
You can't
it-
just expand the Dora into the park without changing other parts of the outside ordinances. Is the
Okay.
answer to that question.
That might be too difficult to do or not, but, and I'm not saying just allow, that we are allowing alcohol there, it has to be the same Dora rules as, everywhere else. And, I mean, I could just see where you might have the same problem you're having now with the car shows and people are gonna just drift, because there's those park benches there, that's inviting to take your cup of wine and sit there and watch the sunset or something. So, like Barry said, if we just included it, it might show that the city is, we're asking the library and the school to give in a little, maybe the city could do their share too, and then we could keep that rectangle still, just let it cross right into there. Yeah, there might be a lot of pushback on that, but it'd be interesting to hear everyone's opinions. That's the reason for the public hearings.
Absolutely.
And, but at least ought to be talked about,
Absolutely.
whether it can happen or not.
Okay,
We would like to know what that would entail, changing, okay.
I can do that before the next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Mark?
No, I don't think there's any more we can talk about that till we get more information. Right. But thank you. Thanks, and, thanks for your input last month on that. I mean, that really got us all thinking that it might make your job easier for enforcement, because it just makes more sense to me.
I think the learnings that you identified pretty persuasive in terms of what actually resulted from having Dora. So, some people were quite angst about it, so
Right, exactly.
appreciate the report.
Good.
Item number 10, the proposed budget, ARPA/ARPA fund discussion. So I'm not sure who is in,
I apologize, but I have not been pressed for this conversation.
okay,
I believe that the proposal is going to be to update playground equipment with the ARPA funds, but I don't want to speak out of turn. So I would like to table this discussion.
but that will be a part of the amended budget.
Yes,
And-
yes.
Okay. And of course, there's a slash here with the proposed budget, which I think includes the second floor of the police division. So there's,
Yeah, I think there's two things here. I know Chief Ruiz, talked about the fire truck specific amended budget, and then there's also money in the amended budget to look at expanding the upstairs of the police division as we're growing, we're running out of space. So the idea is, as Cav and I had talked about, was, getting the design phase, the RFPs out, the design phase hopefully done this year, and then hopefully start the actual renovations next year. But that's kind of the plan right now going forward to get that upstairs finished.
And I do believe that the goal, and let me emphasize that the word in this next sentence is goal, is to have the amended budget to you, proposed amended budget to you Monday, to give you time to review that.
so that's not what was emailed to us then.
Or it was already emailed to you and nobody's told you.
These, but on the ARPA funds, that's more or less suggestions.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So those are really emails to you that you all can discuss. I have no additional information.
Sure, and we're just discussing probably the safety part of it in this committee, right? So, Chief, Russ, you have some items on here as well, besides the fire engine. In the amended budget, did you want to, just fire division contracts and fire division salaries?
I believe, yes, we had to make those corrections because we didn't know what those were going to be until we finalized our contracts. That's already been done, so yes, we should have those numbers.
Oh, I see. So the 12,000 and 10,000.
The only reason I'm surprised is because I didn't know that was put in there. but
Oh, okay.
It was probably in there because we hadn't finished our contractual agreement
Oh, okay.
At the time of the
at
original.
the time of our original submission.
Right.
Correct.
So this is more of a buffer.
Correct,
Yeah.
because we didn't know.
Okay. So there isn't much else in the way of safety on this, right?
No, just those four items. So I don't know that this, what do we call it, the ARPA has a lot to do with us on safety, other than maybe, I suppose, it almost has a lot more to do with service and recreation,
Yes.
and public utilities for that matter.
I agree. There's really nothing here. Well, pedestrian crossing improvements. Do we know, I mean, that's just down in the other suggestions, but I know this has been a discussion, and do you know if that's what they're talking about between the two parks there at Fort Meigs Road, Rotary and Rivercrest? Is that,
I know we've had discussions in the past
yeah,
about the best way to, you know, if there is a way to put a crossing in there, because the mid-block crossings are always, seem to cause more issues than they solve sometimes.
Right.
So I know that we've talked about that in the past, so I'm not sure, I can't say for sure that that's what that is, but.
For 25,000, that's woefully inadequate for what we think the solution is. So that must be some other kind of improvements, but you're not,
I'm not.
sure what.
okay. Yeah, it must be some existing crossings that they want to improve lighting or.
That wouldn't be,
Sign.
I could see them doing that for 25,000. All you have to do is put some lights in and crosswalks.
I think what they were looking at out there on Fort Meigs Road is actually one of the hawk signals, which I think are going to be, I don't know what those cost, I know those are pretty expensive to do it right, just because of the amount of traffic you have and.
The visibility under the bridge.
Visibility and actually getting people to stop. But
Those are different than the ones we have on 64, Front Street.
yes, the hawk says they have them down in BG on Wooster.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
University, where it's actually, you get a red light there.
Yeah.
Oh.
For vehicles to stop,
Yeah.
so.
You saw
They're
that.
a little more intense.
You know, that's not a bad idea because of the school, too.
It's been talked a lot about in rec, I believe.
Yeah, they have.
You've been in those discussions already.
Well, and I even think it was part of safety, because you were addressing that issue too, in terms of,
Yeah, I think we have talked about it in safety as well. It has been brought up. And I know one of the issues out there is where exactly do you put that, because the 475 overpass there does provide, basically an obstructed view if you're headed north. And if you come all right onto it, the crosswalk is further towards the overpass. So,
One of the things I've noticed since they shut down that west front is the uptick in people speeding down Fort Meigs and then Echo Junction.
we've had increased.
Really speeding.
Yeah, increased police presence out there.
Yeah.
Because we knew we were going to see more traffic going through those areas.
And it's not even more, they're going faster. I noticed there's a car in front of me that's doing about 45 on Echo Junction.
Is it true people were cutting through the cemetery when you first did that closure, when they first did the closure there?
That I'm not aware of, but it
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
surprise me.
Yeah, that's what I heard, yeah.
is there anything else for the committee?
I heard it was a Crown Vic with a gas tank dragging. No, I have nothing
Dan,
else.
do you have anything else? So we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.